Hello, everybody. Good morning. This is your Symposium Sunday with Dr. Meno. This is Sunday, September 27th, 2015. We already surpassed several apocalypses that was supposed to happen on the 15th, the 23rd, and so on and so forth. Now, the next big one is supposed to be coming up the 28th, so we'll see what happens tomorrow. This could be our last forecast, our last broadcast here. So listen in. Anyway, today's topic on Symposium Sunday is going to be about if I was president. If I was president of the United States, and this will fall over also if I was the leader, the head honcho of the New World Order. Because either way, on either side you go on, there has to be a meta-ethicist in control, in the helm, at the helm, in power of any of these type of social organizations. I am a meta-ethicist, a word that nobody really understands or knows what it's all about, but the prefix meta means above, beyond, subject that is at hand. For instance, physics, physics deals with math, so metaphysics is above the math, which is the realm of philosophy. So meta means above the ethics, a person that is so high up on the ethical level that you can't do anything wrong or immoral. Anyway, let's get into this. If I was president of the United States, of course, the one big main thing that everybody is more concerned about would be the budget. The budget, the budget, the budget. So one of the first things I do, which got President John F. Kennedy killed, was to do away with the Fed. It is an illegal, odious type of organization that forces countries. I'm talking about all central banks now. The Federal Reserve is basically a central bank. You got the New York Central Bank. It gets its money in Kansas and St. Louis and all these other areas, Dallas or Houston. And these are basically private investors that set up loan sharking to governments and larger entities. Anyway, I would do away with the federal bank. I guess we owe them quite a bit of money in the 18 trillions or so with these treasury bills and so on and so forth. But also on the other side, they are one of the largest landlords in the United States. Watch my video. How the Fed has become the largest landlord by buying up all of these derivative packages. All your mortgages made a big loop all the way around to the Federal Reserve. And all this was done without money, just digital lines and zeros on the internet. This is how it was all done digitally. They stole your property digitally. So doing away with the Fed, everybody would get their houses back that the banking institution took illegally and immorally and unethically. The Federal Reserve would be abolished and all debt would be excused. I'll probably touch on this a little later. Another big aspect that I would like to see to solve the debt problem and to help manage the debt problem is to give all BLM, Bureau of Land Management land, now aside from the Park Service, because I still think they are under the BLM, land, give all that land back to the Native Americans. Remember those people that we so conveniently tried to genocide in North America? We need to give them one of the biggest apologies of all human existence in history and give them back the hundreds of thousands of millions of hectares, acres that we stole from them. And we owe them hundreds of millions and probably it's in the billions of money that we stole from them for grazing rights, mineral rights, oil rights, so on and so forth. Give all that back to the Native Americans. And that way we don't have any expenses involved in that. They can take it over, they can manage it, they can make parks out of it, they can do nothing with it, and that's fine too. Okay. Also, what might be included is some Park Service land, some Forest Service land. This will be adjusted how we can kind of see fit there. But for the first part, all Bureau of Land Management, which is a bunch of BS kind of land. It's in the middle of nowhere. Once again, just like how we put them on their own reservations. But give it all back to them, let them management, and we will be without that big expense of maintaining all of that stuff. What the Indians want to do with it, that's great. Another thing I would do is legalize cannabis, get growing permits from the Department of Agriculture, get away from this trafficking going through South America, Central America, and into into United States. I would open it up for medical use. Absolutely, I would keep it away from the 6 or 8 corporations that are trying to monopolize growing permits and trying to make guidelines. But we don't want this open to the public access to minors, to kids, and things like that. So it would be based on a permit program where you would pay an annual fee and be subjected to on-the-spot inspections from the Department of Agriculture agents or inspectors. Now, there will be guidelines. It has to be in an enclosed area. It has to be locked away from kids and minors. There's a limit on what you can use for personal use. If there's any packaging or trafficking, then your license will be revoked, suspended, or whatever, and there will be a fine involved. So this will be a way to generate money on this without doing it like an alcohol thing. I guess we can do it like an alcohol thing. I guess people who live in apartment buildings, heck, you can grow in your closet anywhere. But if there's a situation where people need to buy it, then this will be under Food and Drug Administration, I guess, which is another department that I got to talk about a little later. Get rid of a lot of these bogus departments that we have around. But anyway, let's get back to the growing line. Legalize cannabis and obtain permits with annual inspections and annual fees, a way to generate income. Okay, another way of saving so much money, oh my God, so much money, is bring our military home, bring all of our military home, close all of these bases. If we keep them, make them tourist destinations for Americans if they want to travel around the world, or sell the land and bring that money back home and start using it for our infrastructure. Bring our military home. Only use it for defense as it was intended in the Constitution, a well-regulated army, only for defense, with no foreign entanglements. No foreign entanglements. We will protect our borders strictly and confidently. We will protect the United States of America at all costs defensively. We will never, never, never go into other countries and do what we've been doing for the last couple hundred years. I'll get into another aspect of that a little later. Okay, another way to save money is, we give billions and billions, $5 billion to Israel, $3 billion to Saudi Arabia, and hundreds of millions and billions to all these other countries. No more foreign aid. I'll repeat that. No more foreign aid. No money will go to other countries. For the first 4 years of my presidency, the first 3 years, of course, we don't want to put them in an economic shock, but we're going to cut out 33 and third percent the first year, second year, the second, third, the third year will be the last at divvying out. So the fourth year, there will be absolutely no foreign gifts to these countries. And that fourth year, I promise, will be set up to where there will never be an income tax on any citizen in the United States ever again. All this money will be put back into our country and put in our pockets. No more income tax. And all of this funding will be decreased in the first 3 years, a third every year. And the fourth year is when we will actually see some great benefits. Hey, we don't want to make too many enemies out there. Also, a way to generate income is to make the United States of America a tourist destination. Open it up to tourism. Invite other countries in to see our multicultural existence here, our multicultural communities, how we function here. Get people coming here to spend money. This is how we generate. We can even tax it as they come in. Tax other people, not us, to generate funds for our National Finance Center, so that we don't have to pay any more income taxes, that we can have nice roads and great services. Another major important way to save the budget, to augment the budget, to make us a rich country and all of us to never have to pay taxes again, is one thing that I've never understood is, of course, we fund NASA and the military through our tax money, the billions and over the decades, multi-trillions, hundreds of trillions of dollars that have been dumped into the NASA, the space program, and our military budget. And a lot of the great research and development, the new discoveries, inventions came out of these two organizations. So anything that was developed within NASA and the military is ours as a tax-paying citizenry, and everything that comes out of there is ours as a citizen, as a member of the United States of America. So given that, how do all these corporations end up with this technology where they're capitalizing on our inventions? And the big example I use is the goddamn computer. Didn't NASA pretty much develop the computer with our money, with our funding? Shouldn't the computer be ours to benefit from, to rake all the benefits from it, to regenerate an income within our own infrastructure in the United States of America that we can actually benefit and live easier? That's a good standard of living. That's capitalism, right? In a sense that the United States is acting like a corporation of themselves with one of the best research and development departments, and even in the universities, things that were researched and developed and came out of the university. This is our taxpayer money. Well, aside from private universities, of course, but they're governmentally funded too. So all products, goods, and services that was developed in NASA and our government and any government organization that somehow ended up in the hands of the private corporations or the old cronies from our politicians and all their little buddies ended up with this stuff to make the millions and billions of dollars, which should have been recirculated within our budget because we paid for that. We paid for the research and development and the formulation of all of these type of products. You get what I mean? Can you imagine no more federal income tax, no more Social Security tax, FICA? Can you imagine all that? Can you imagine no more paying for health benefits that the government can afford to give everybody health benefits? No more paying for your degrees and your education because there'll be so much money recirculated within our own country. See, capitalism, they screwed up, man. They screwed up. They blew it. They blew it. Also, part of the capitalism and going to socialism is that we need to socialize services that the corporations has abused. We need to socialize utilities and the banking and the insurance industries because they totally screwed it up. And if you don't know how, I'm not going to go into a whole lesson. You are hopefully awake to people that listen to me. You know how corporations screwed everything up. They got way too greedy. So all utilities should be socialized and government ran. The banking institution should be government ran, should be more like a co-op, nonprofit type of organization. But we'll let the heads, make some money. We don't mind people making money. It's not a hardcore socialism. There is a scale of rewards for performing good at your job and your duties. There is all that is going to be built into this new socialized structure. But they blew it, they abused it, it totally ruined the economy. It's not for the economy. Enron, back when Enron was doing their thing, I had some retail stores, and they almost pretty much tried to drive me out of business. My electric bill went from $1,000 a month to $4,000 a month by Kenneth Lehman and the Anderson accounting group, and just ripping people off, trying to run people out of business. Also, the government, what the government is supposed to be, the function of the government and the function of the United States is what they formed a federal entity, a federal type government, was to form an agency, form an entity that all states could use to benefit all states. Example, in Hempler, instead of having all states have their own army and security forces, they would pool their money together and have one to protect all states, that well-regulated army. Remember that? Number 4, Constitution, United States Constitution, number 4. Also, roadways. Instead of each state has their own different roadway requirements and dimensions, that there'll be a federal roadway system to connect all the states throughout the country. Banking, a monetary unit, the dollar. Instead of each state's having their own little Confederate note or silver certificates or this and that, there'll be a common group, a common monetary unit that all states could use. Okay, this is so that this will save state money. The federal government was set up to save individual states' budget and their money by supplying a common service that will be more economically and more efficient ran as a whole. Well, my God, look how that got out of hand, huh? Look how that got out of hand. All right, let's move on here. Security for defense and protection, a well-regulated army. I would make Edward Snowden the head of the NSA. Yes, we still need the NSA. We still need to keep our secrets. We have corporate secrets and we have U.S. government secrets and all that kind of stuff. Security would still have to be there. But with all the cameras in all the global cloud network, spying network, that's another video I did from NASA to the NSA, how all these cell phone towers, that the whole globe, the whole world is in a cloud type of information storage system. That's how it's kind of set up now. That's how they like it. That's what the New World Order wants. So instead of spying on individuals, now what we're going to be doing is spying on all of our politicians, all of our law enforcement people, anybody and everybody who takes an income or receives an income from our common citizens. Okay, that's a public servant. Okay, a civil service employee. All cameras will be directed on them, and even more so the most corrupt, which will be the police departments and our politicians, to keep them honest. It won't be for us, but anybody who is being paid through government money will be monitored. No more spying on your homes, your living rooms, your bedrooms, or anything like that. That stuff's going to stop, and we're going to put Edward Snowden in charge of the NSA. Also, one of the big things we're going to have to do is control the military-industrial complex. We need to take these people down. We need to disband making weapons. We'll make them for our own country under specific private contracts. In fact, we should just take over. In fact, we are going to take over. In fact, this is a new rule that I just came up with. We will take over the military-industrial complex. This will be a government-ran entity to supply security, physical security, to protect our borders, not to protect corporate imperial interests and evasions in other countries, only to protect within our sea to shiny sea. Let's move on here. All right, let's go into this. This kind of follows over if I was the ruler, the king, the counselor of the New World Order. What I would do is to go back 300, 400, 500 years, and all colonialization would be reversed. Everything would be reversed. There'll be new borders around all the results of all these wars, these takeover of lands and borders from everywhere around the world. We would take back all the land. The Queen is one of the largest landowners in the world in the Vatican. We will take all that land back. And the big example is the atrocities that we did to Diego Garcia and disrupting a whole lifestyle, a whole culture there. Is that we're going to vacate that with the UK, give it back to those people. All the buildings and everything there will be the citizens there. They can go back to their homeland. And this is just an example. Another small example would be the Falkland Islands. That will go back to Argentina. England has no damn business being there. And if there was nobody there, no inhabitants there, then it is a natural reserve for tourism. All land that was colonized and taken by other European countries and any other countries around the world, from Africa, the Indonesia, the Burmas, everywhere around the world, will go back to the indigenous people, and the invading countries will pull all of their personnel out of there, but leave all the structures intact, leave all the equipment, leave all the computers, leave all the material assets there so that the people that do get to return can use it for their benefit however way they see fit. Now, given this too, let's talk about Israel and Palestine. First I was going to say, well, let's let Israel has to give back all the land they took. There was another video I did on that subject about the invasion of Israel and over the years how much land they took from the Palestinians. Well, I'm going to go back and say, you know what, we felt sorry for the Jewish people. It was a horrible thing that happened in World War II. It's really a shame. All those millions and millions of Jews were slaughtered the way they were. In fact, it's really sad that all the people that were slaughtered, all the Catholics, all the Polish, everybody who was even atheist, that got killed and slaughtered the millions of other people. Now, do we give them all countries? Hell no. Anyway, it was a nice gesture. We gave it to them. We tried, but they abuse it. They abuse it. They can't handle their own country. They abused it. They shouldn't have their own country. The Jewish people cannot run their own country. So get rid of it. Give it back to Palestine. Divvy it up with the other countries around there how it was before. And the Jewish people are great. They can have their synagogues anywhere around the world. People should respect them, but they got to get rid of their attitude that they're God's chosen people, or they're never going to get along with anybody on this world. Never, never, never. Okay, food stamps, food, the fast food industry, wipe it all out. We're going to be honest with people. We're going to show you how to eat 50% less. There's no overcrowding. There's so much land around the United States and around the world that we don't need all this stuff. We don't need all this trash. We can teach people how to eat 50, 60% less and still get all the vitamins and nutrients. Can you imagine how much water that will save, how much our sewer systems will be relieved, how we can go back to using septic tanks again and be responsible and wallow in our own feces? That's the only way we're really going to understand who we are, what we are, and why we are, and even how we are, is if we have to wallow in our own feces. If we can get rid of all these bad corporations that have poisoned us with food and the fluoride and preservatives and everything, if we can get rid of all this stuff, we would be so much healthier, that our whole medical system would be so much better. Cancer would be dropping like crazy. Making us a healthy group of people would save us so much money. This would help the budget so much. Take it out of privatization. The healthcare system's got to be out of privatization. We got to, though, in turn, make sure that we don't have goofballs running our systems and employees that are incompetent. So there's got to be a way to recirculate, to change inefficient workers in the system, and that goes with the supervisors especially. People on food stamps, welfare, or unemployment, or even disability, give them jobs. Give them the jobs that the immigrants keep coming here for. Give them out there picking stuff. Of course, disabilities, they can do office jobs. They can do things like that. We need to do away with this private prison incarceration system. That is so corrupt and it's turned into more fascist crap. Make these criminals, especially the level 1s and 2s, the non-violent people, just like the military does. They sentence their guys in the brig, they sentence them to hard labor. They're out there working every day, picking up trash, using the weed eaters, doing road repairs, things like that. Okay, put them out there to beautify America, to enhance tourism, to fight our fires. I worked along with a lot of cons, as we call them, inmates in the California prison system, the California Department of Corrections, and they used them on fires, just as Arizona used a lot of the Indian crews. Put these guys to work, make them repay society for their crimes. That's the best way to directly put it back into society, into the public. Okay, and this goes into justice. We'll go into the justice. I will make justice happen. I will go after the Bushes, the Cheneys, the whole Bush administration. I will go after the Clintons. I will go after everybody involved in the Obama thing. They will all go to jail. They will all be rounded up in the International Criminal Court, because this is an international issue. There's already outstanding arrest warrants for these people. I would go after all of them. Round them all up. Put them in jail. Let's go into science. Let's go into the science part of me being the president and ruler of the world, New World Order. We were growing up in grammar school. That says, hey, kiddies, you got to learn the metric system, because by the time you get through high school, we're going to be switched over to metric system, so on and so forth. So they tried to get it down and sort of, well, I was more in the science area anyway. Started out in college as an engineer, and we got into metric system. But that's one of the things I would do too, is to change the United States of America over to the metric system. Yeah, I know the corporations are going to wham, but that's something that's well overdue to get on a standard. This will be part of the New World Order aspect too, to centralize measurements, of course. Also, what I've always said, I can't remember if I even did a video on this or not, I can't remember, but I want to recalculate time and put time in the metric system. There should be some physicists, some mathematicians that could work this out and to do it. Okay. Another thing I would do is to be less dependent on fossil fuels, change over to lots of solar power, alternative power, start bringing out some of Tesla's inventions, get rid of all these appliances and crap that we don't need. We need to get back to simple. We need to get rid of all of these cell phones, this EMF, electrical magnetic fields all around the country, this burden off of our auras, to let our free thinking, our own personal radiative personalities to expand a little more instead of being bombarded with every frequency known to man all the time. But come up with alternative modes of power. But on the other side of things, that we will be less dependent on power by not using things like transportation. Cars will be more efficient and slowly being phased out. Okay, that whole industry is so corrupt. It depends on the oil industry. I would get rid of all bad technology. There's so much technology out there. It's just full of crap. You know, technology is supposed to make our lives easier. It's supposed to help us. It's supposed to save lives, but it's done the opposite of that. So technology isn't working for mankind. And we need to get rid of all this technology that doesn't work to benefit mankind, like bombs, warheads, nuclear energy. Now, come on. I did a video. Why do we have nuclear power? What's the whole reason why we have nuclear power? It is only to boil water. How insane is that? That is the downright only reason we have nuclear power. Once again, do I have to put it in your head to make you realize it? It is to boil water, period. How insane is that? So we would rethink technology and where it's going. I'll expand on this later. I'm just touching on a lot of these things. Each one of these areas could be a whole video in itself. Okay, let's go into education. One of the big things about education and that has really helped me out as a human being is meditating. I would teach that in the kindergarten, the first grade, second grade, the art, the practice of meditating. I wouldn't lie to the kids and tell them George Washington cut down the cherry tree and says, "Father, I cannot tell a lie. I chopped down that cherry tree." That was just the biggest lie. I wouldn't tell our kids that the sun rises in the east and sets in the west. It's a whole total opposite of what it does. I wouldn't lie to our kids. I'd tell them the truth off the bat. I'd teach them, our kids, my biggest problem in life have been dealing with the human being, dealing with all of his bad, greedy elements. I would teach our kids in education because the parents sometimes don't get around doing this, and this needs to be supported. And the home teachings, too, is to watch out for the human being, how a thief he is, how a liar he is, how he'll come and kill you, okay, how he won't respect you, how he'll try to molest your girlfriends, your wives, your daughters. Okay, I would teach our kids, the real human being, what he is really like. I would teach them about contracts, how to deal with contracts and not have contracts. And if you have to have a contract, that's one of our biggest problems is we never got to learn these things in school. I wouldn't have the history be biased, but more neutral to everything around the world. Every country has their history so biased. Here's a quick example. United States, Christopher Columbus. We teach him as a hero. He discovered America. There's day. You get a day off of school, of work, a bank holiday day. You have parades, parties, picnics. Down here in Costa Rica, they teach him as a thief, a guy that killed their Indians, a pillager, stole their gold, tried to commit genocide here. So this is just the same person, but a different view. Okay, we're going to teach our kids the truth about life. And I've always said, once your kid goes to kindergarten, goes to school, they're not yours anymore, they're the system's. And I'd like to change that by having parents more involved in the schools, and they will and they can, because there's going to be less parents working, less people working, because we don't need this whole economic bullshit consumer structure. At least one parent should stay home with the kids. Parents are a community as well, they're your own too. I would do away with junior college and all the coursework in junior college. I would bump that down to the 11th and 12th grade. Junior colleges can be a different type of education area for adults, which is kind of is. That's why they're called community college, for people that want to expand their education. or just do away with it, do something else with the buildings, use them as senior activity centers or whatever, research centers, publicly funded, whatever, so that people from high school in 11th to 12th grade can go right into a four-year university, which will all be paid for and all be free. Remember my new economic plan, how to save money, the budget, all that would be free. Anybody want a degree in any field, it's yours. You can have it. Thank you for your government. But you'll be paying your government back in some way or another. Okay, so that's education. Another thing I would teach in the early grades is self-defense. Teach all of our kids young and early how to defend themselves through various forms of the martial arts. That way, I think that will be cut down a lot of child molestations, a lot of child kidnapping, to keep our kids self-defense for the first 3-4 years of their schoolings, for their PE. Instead of going out and playing kickball, dodgeball, handball, it will be martial arts self-defense. We're going to cut out these pedophiles. We're going to get rid of these pedophiles. We're going to kick their freaking asses. Kids are going to learn to protect themselves, to kick these MFers in the balls. Okay, we're going to cut down and cut out these pedophiles. Now, given that, let's get into religion here. I'm going to skip some things here. Let's get into religion. Okay, we're going to go after these pedophiles. The Catholic Church and the religion don't go after these pedophiles. We will. We'll lock these mother effers up and put them in a whole place where all the other, they can go sodomize each other all day, all the time they want. That's great. That's wonderful. But let's get them out of normal society. Well, normal is one of those relative terms, of course. But we're not going to let them harm and destroy our kids, abuse our kids to destroy their minds and their thinking for the rest of their lives. They have no confidence in the human being anymore. And this goes in, like I said, going back to the education and then bringing it into religion to get rid of these pedophiles in the religious community. Okay, there's going to be no religion in politics. Absolutely no. We don't want this stuff. There's not going to be any God bless Americas. And in fact, I did another video out there. God would not be blessing America, but would be damning. There will be no one religion over another. All religions will be treated the same. I want religious freedom here. It's a great religious freedom aspect that we have in the United States. All religions will have their mosques or synagogues. People can go worship however they want. But do not come knocking on my door Saturday morning with your white shirt and tie, handing me a Watchtower magazine. Don't be standing on street corners in robes and preaching and being obnoxious. You have your religion, and that's great. You have your community, you have your friends, you have your picnics, you have your little function, and that's great. We're going to kind of do away with some of this tax-free attributes to it because there's a lot of money floating around in there. So there's not going to be one dominant world religion. No, 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 no. All religions will be respected and practiced. And like I said, we're going after those people who abuse our kids. Okay, sporting events and sports in the United States of America, I would unprivatize that, make it more like the Green Bay Packer team, where a sporting team is the benefit, and for the community, for the city, for the county, wherever they happen to be, it's a city-owned sporting event, a city-owned to collect on the revenues. If we have to, we'll compensate these billionaires with other aspects, other things. But sporting teams should be owned, community-owned, socially owned, and the benefits of the revenue should be recirculated in the community so that nobody has to pay taxes. A totally tax-free society I'm setting up, folks. Gee Louise, it is so possible it can be that way. It can be that way. Okay, we'd advocate soccer in the United States. That way, and also we don't have to put all the commercialization, the marketing extravaganza for the NFL. Another video I did. It's just a big marketing extravaganza with highlights of a football game. Okay, let's watch the whole game, please. Another one of the things I would do is to disband the UN. That has been an organization that has supposed to promote world peace, and all it has done is promote wars, wars, and wars. It is not doing its job. It is sucking the budget of countries. It is draining more money out of the United States and the taxpayers for nothing, only to create more business for the military-industrial complex and for the central banks to loan all this corrupt money to war-torn regions, to areas that have turmoil going on, protesting, riots, and for the all the corrupt government that are being paid off and influenced by the UN. We would go and confiscate all the central banks around the world. We would cancel all odious loans. We would take back all the assets of the Rothschilds because they illegally got their assets, most of them through the Bank of London and through the stock market. And when Napoleon was defeated, they lied. We had to take away all of their media outlets because they abused it. Everything they abused, pretty much all the central banks in 171 countries, we would take back. We would write off most of the loans, the odious type of loans. If there's any serious loans, which each case should be adjusted and inspected individually if it comes to that. But as a general rule, all loans will be written off, and countries can survive back to their own well-being. If they want to be a third world country, that's great. Nobody's going to go in there and try to bring them up. And this goes with mercenaries and missionaries to go in there to try to change the infrastructure of a country, whether it's through wars or whether it's through religion. We're going to take all the queen assets. She got a lot of her shit illegally and immorally too. All the bank assets we're going to confiscate and redistribute. This is stuff that people get killed. This is what needs to be done. You want to live in peace? You want to live freely? You want to live without problems? You want to live the pure vita? You want to live how life should be lived? Amazing amount of free time on your hands so that you can have creative thoughts, you can be creative, you can go out and do things, you can go out and explore things, you can go out and help humanity. But yes, with our justice system, we need a built-in system to take control, to monitor the 1% that seems to cause all the problems around the world. Unfortunately, that 1% is the Illuminati, and we need to take these people out, and we need to confiscate all their stuff because most of their stuff they got illegally, immorally, and unethically, and bring it all back to the people. And once again, all the colonizations, all that land goes back to the original indigenous, including Australia. Big example of that. The electoral system and the politics. We need to get rid of the present electoral system. It doesn't work. It's all a farce. It's a joke because your vote don't count. Another video I did on how your vote don't count. It's a farce. It's a big farce. Okay, the whole electoral system. My idea about setting up how we elect our officials is we have the organization works. You know, we have the three-check system, the judicial, legislative, and the executive. We'd keep all that.
We got to get rid of the corruption. We got to get rid of the lobbyists. The Senate's a good idea. The Congress is a good idea. The House of Representatives, that's all a good idea. But unfortunately, it's so corrupt and it's so fascist corrupted. So instead of having elections per se, and we can move this into elections, is, for example, we'll just use like the Congress, Senate, and President. Let's just say that we will pre-qualify people to fill positions in our government, people who volunteer, people who want these positions, to be a philanthropist, to help your government out and your constituents and your people and your neighbors, that we will pre-qualify people. For example, for Congress seat, we would make a minimum requirement of a 4-year degree. It doesn't matter what it's in. It should be into a particular area of where his constituents is at. For example, if a guy is in like a very rural area of Arizona or Utah, and it's a mainly agricultural area, then you would think that, and hopefully that a person with an agricultural, forestry, biology background would fill that seat, as opposed to a congressional district in a major metropolitan area where economics seems to be important. You would think that there would be persons with political science or economic degrees filling and applying for those positions, pre-qualified. We're going to pre-qualify people for these positions, okay? And one step up, we go to the Senate. Once again, a minimum of a master's degree. Of course, this leaves it more wide open because there's only 2 per state, and we would pre-qualify people. Now, for the presidency, let's put some rules on there. Let's have something. Let's say you would have to serve a term in the Congress and the Senate. before you can qualify to be a president. And you have to have a PhD, a doctorate degree in whatever field that you wish to be it in. This will also, I guess, include military degrees, okay? We can't omit those kind of people. So anyway, what this whole process is going to be about is pre-qualifying people. And this could also be implemented down in the municipal, the county, and the state level too, is this whole idea. So we pre-qualify people, we start eliminating candidates, okay, real candidates, and what we'll do is we'll get them down to like the top X amount, we'll put them in a hat, we'll get some unbiased kid in there, pick the name in a hat, and ta-da! Okay, this guy's going to win, he's going to be our congressman for the next 4 or 6 years. Ta-da! Yay! Oh, I give up. I'm not going to do it. We'll allow for a person to take himself out of the race once he's elected, and we go to the next hand. And these names can automatically be requalified. They can automatically stay in the hat for the next term. But each 2 years, each 4 years, there'll be new qualifiers to put their name in the hat. Campaigning have no outside contributions. It will all be government ran, government monitored, unbiased, uncorrupted, unlobbied, undonatable. Everybody will have equal time. If we do go to the elections, if we feel that we have 5 great people that could be there, we don't want to pick out of the hat, then we could go to some type of a general election type of format if the pre-qualifying and picking out of the hat seems to have any issues. So there are better ways to hold our elections. Oh, the whole pharmaceutical thing, we got to get rid of that. The whole, like I said, all and any corporations that abuse their role around the world, it will be taken away, that the government will compete and drive them out of business. So anyway, this is just a first video that I will come out with to share my ideas to be the ruler of the United States, Dr. Meno, a meta-ethicist, to even expand this to the New World Order, to be the ruler, to be the helm of the New World Order, to have the world function harmoniously. And once again, if it was expanded into the New World Order, just as I said about the U.S. government, when all the states decided to have a federal entity to save them money, to supply common goods and services that would be more economical, efficient, to deliver rather than each state having their own. This will be also as the world government, the New World Order, where it will be instead of each individual country have to have their own individual type of services, that would be more economically delivered on a global level, as in a global police state, which would have to be ran by philosopher kings. When you have that kind of power, you need philosopher kings deciding what's going to be on it. And once again, a monetary system. I have no problem with a global monetary system. I have no problem with a global communication system, as long as it is controlled by a meta-ethicist. This has been the whole problem with communism and socialism, why it has a bad name. There's always been tyrannical people implementing the social organization of communism and socialism, and so it's never worked out. It's never been implemented the right way. But if you had a meta-ethicist in there at the helm, implementing it the correct way, it is the most best way to function a society. Now, all the capitalists are all worried, no, but we will reward smart people. We will idolize people who go above and beyond their call of duty. And if people want to be a bum, that's great. You can be a bum. There's nothing wrong with being a bum. There's nothing wrong with being lazy. Absolutely nothing. But we gotta laugh at capitalism and democracy when a policeman and a fireman make the same money as a teacher or a trash collector. You know, that's socialism. Come on, you guys, get with it. It's all the same. We have this big division of power and wealth. This is wrong. This isn't supposed to happen. Let's make life comfortable for everybody. I'm Dr. Meno, the true expatriate that would love to be reintroduced into the homeland that I was born, the 33 very hard years I worked, paying taxes for nothing. This is my idea. This is what I would be doing if I was president, if I was the king of the New World Order. So think about it, put me down, write me in, get me on the ballots, and I will change the United States of America, and I will change the world for the better, where people would be happy to visit us, to be curious about us. to respect us, to say, wow, now this is a country I would be proud to be a part of. Okay, also expanding on everybody's culture around the world. Like the United States has their Chinatowns and Olvera streets and Shmele, and they got their little Egypts around, little Koreas around, little communities. There's nothing wrong with that. If you can't afford or don't have the desire to travel to other countries to look at other cultures, to learn how people live around the world, then there's going to be there immigrants that can build a little community, a little society within the United States, as I said, like Chinatown, so people can see and understand how other cultures function and live. Let's love one another. Let's be peaceful people. I'm the peace terrorist. I want peace to spread around the world as the spread of fear around the world. Now, why can't we do that? Once again, I'm closing out again. Thank you for listening to Symposium Sunday, September 27th, 2015. I'm Dr. Meno, Pure Vita.